Now, there are times that there are things that you should have shared, but for some reason didn't get around to it. And then as time goes by, you just wonder, so why today? And why tomorrow? Why the day after? It just never happens. The organization has embarked upon a very ambitious 10-year plan. You probably heard little pieces of it here and there, but it was never presented. And the question is, so why today? Why today we have the answer. It's Rav Noach's yard site. In the olden days, for years this went on. There were the international meetings where Aish people from all over the world would get together. Rav Noach would usually open it in the Beis Medrash with all the students there, talking about all the home run ideas, as he called them. The home run ideas that people had come up with and were implementing. Rav Noach himself, of course, was so creative. He created a new vocabulary, perhaps a new language altogether. Taking Torah, bringing it into contemporary life. And something that people often missed was that unlike so many others, who in order to sound relevant would just teach fluff, Rav Noach would actually get really down to what does it say? What is at the very heart of what Chazal are telling us? Beyond the way they dressed it up, beyond the presentation, what was at the heart of it? And how is that to be presented today? The vocabulary of the world of Kiruv was written by Rav Noach. He was endlessly creative, but even more importantly, he encouraged creativity. He always wanted us to come up with new ideas. He taught us to be daring, not to be afraid of what everyone else had to say. He would constantly remind us, every step of the way, he was told he was wrong. He was called names. But at the end of the day, everyone understood he was right. In those days, Rav Noach would warn us, time is running out. The time will come when we won't know who a Jew is. We won't know whom to be Makarev. We just won't know who's Jewish. Unfortunately, that was so prophetic. We're not very far from that today. The conventional system of doing kiruv, which is trying to get kids, come here for a while, get them to stay. Eventually they'll often become from, stay, maybe even join us, maybe even join the fight for Jewish identity. that calls for a lot of manpower and a lot of time. And we're losing it. Assimilation has grown geometrically. Times have changed so that even the few things that Jews all had in common that you could use in the initial stages of Kiruv, bring an IDF soldier and everyone's heart melts away. Talk about Israel. That doesn't work anymore. An IDF soldier, a murderer of Palestinians? The Jewish world has gone left-wing liberal. We're losing our brethren. And Kiruv, as we know it, is a long, slow, costly process. We don't stand a chance. So Rav Noach warned us there's got to be an answer. Rav Noach spoke of Kiruv not because it's nice to have people from. Rav Noach spoke of Kiruv because Hashem created this world to give. Because Hashem loves us all. And humanity is spitting in his face. For him it was all Kiddush Hashem and Kvod Shamayim. And that's why, unlike so many others who joined him and are successful at outreach, are so satisfied. We got another family, another Jewish family that's going to stay Jewish. And yes, that's wonderful. But Rav Noach would always say that's a drop in the bucket. Yeah, there are people that made tens, maybe hundreds, some even thousands, brought them to the world of Torah. And they're proud. And Rav Noach would always say it's a drop in the bucket. What's going to be with the Jewish people? So we've been thinking hard. It is clear that today there's an even greater Chilul Hashem than the fact that Jews are assimilating. And that is the fact that the Jewish nation no longer defines itself by ideology. It defines itself as a nationality only. Check through the dictionaries. Few dictionaries will mention as the first or perhaps even second definition of Jew as anything to do with religion, belief, ideology. It's an ethnic group. You can be Italian or you can be Jewish. You can be Chinese or you can be Jewish. That is the greatest Chilul Hashem. The Jew doesn't know how to define himself. He doesn't realize that being Jewish means we are the people who chose Hashem and he chose us and gave us his Torah to teach humanity how to live. That's the greatest Chilul Hashem. It's so much worse than the issue of whether or not Jews are observing What does the word Jew mean today? If it means nothing ideological, nothing. So where are we? Hashem's out of the picture. It used to be the Jews knew this is the religion. I either do or don't observe or have my own way of observing. The religion of most Jews in the West today is left-wing liberalism. How are we going to change that? So we've embarked upon a very ambitious plan. Within the next 10 years, we want to get 3 million Jews involved in studying Torah on a regular basis in a way that it's making a difference to the way they live. When I say studying Torah, I don't mean that they're going to be learning Tosfos with Marshall. Rav Noach taught us that studying Torah means principles for life. We believe that a critical mass of 3 million Jews will have a ripple effect upon all of Jewry. 3 million Jews regularly studying Torah and changing the way they live. I don't mean they're going to light Shabbos candles. I wouldn't mind if they would. But that's not what we're talking about. It means they're learning how to think the way the Torah tells you to think. They're learning how to question. They're learning how to treat their fellow. They're learning how to deal with family. They're learning how to deal with friends. And they know the source is Torah, which is divine, given by the God who loves us. This is what we want. How are we going to get there? How are we going to get to the 3 million Jews studying Torah so that Jews will reconsider the way we define ourselves? How are we going to make that happen? There's one thing around today that was in its infantile stages in Rav Noach's days, and that's the internet. Social media, you can reach the whole of mankind if you do a good enough job, if you do something that's either state-of-the-art or outrageous. What we're talking about is creating an online platform that begins with something that is primarily entertaining with some content, leading to another level, which is still entertaining, but with a lot more content, to another level that is full of content, so that people will be led slowly to the point that they're really going to be studying something of substance. Once we've got our platform up, we have to bring everyone in. And for that, the plan is a big PR blitz. It's going to cost a fortune, and it's going to have to be done very well wherever you go. There's something about learning Torah. You mean you haven't studied Torah yet? Don't worry, that's not going to be the line. I'm not the one who's going to write it. What we're talking about is something that's going to cost a fortune. It's going to take a lot of creativity with a lot of people involved, professionals, and us. That will then be followed up with with building online communities and actual physical ones too, with retreats, with hopefully secular mentors who are going to be into it and want to invite more people, perhaps home groups. The destination level for us is somebody learning regularly and growing. Again, studying Torah wisdom and incorporating into his life. If we'll accomplish that, we will have been successful. Remember, our plan is for Jews to redefine themselves. If at that point, every tier of organization on this earth will want to take our people and take them further, we'll be very happy. But our goal is something unique to Aish. We dare, yes, we dare introduce a vision for changing the state of the Jewish nation without real kiruv. We're the only ones that think that way. We're the only ones that are going to do that. And for the vast majority of our brethren, that's probably the only way to go. What happens after that point? Honestly, even before that point, we will gladly work with and help any organization that wants to do outreach with our people. We're not looking for ownership. We're not looking for credit. We're not looking for any form of recognition. Although we're going to need a lot of money. What we want to do is change the way the Jew defines himself. This location, hopefully someday it's going to be filled again with Jews. I'm not sure what it is that they're coming here for, but I guess they know something deep down. Jews are constantly coming. We've been planning for years the Western Wall experience. Rabbi Rossman would like to turn our yeshiva to not only a yeshiva, but a place that any Jew can drop in at any time and come learn and get a whiff of what the idea of learning Torah is all about. As far as the people involved, for those of you who know Elliot Matthias, he's been running Aish New York. The fact that there's not much doing out there these days gave him time, and he is coordinating our efforts. Aside from that, we brought some other people on board. For our online presence, we brought on Mrs. Jamie Geller, who's famous out there. It's not where I hang out, so I wouldn't know. Who's today working very closely with the people at Aish.com. Our online presence is going to have to be of a whole different nature. Aish.com is for people who are interested. We are looking for something that the disinterested, and maybe even anti, would be interested in. As far as creating communities, it's like Shimmy Kaufman, who's been great in Israel. With Aish Israel, we'll be trying to build on that module. We would like to get our 3 million people from Israel, the US, and Latin America. Shimi right now has the responsibility of working through building communities, just how we're going to go about that. Yatil Goldwith has been working on content. There's a whole grouping put together. You know, we have so much educational material, but for the world out there, it's outdated. We now realize how difficult it must have been for Noach to do what he did, to take the wisdom of Torah and apply it to the generation. It seemed only natural when you heard his classes. Nobody thought that way in those days. Now we've got to figure out a way to talk to people today. Same principles. But the way that speaks to people of this generation. It's going to be a lot of work. And I keep saying we're going to have to raise a lot of money. Ben Gansher, that's heading fundraising, is not just heading fundraising to keep everything going. He understands that we are going to have to raise tens of millions of dollars, if not hundreds. Everything is expensive. Absolutely everything is expensive. Rabbi Berg is overseeing the whole thing. Between his connections and just who he is, we've already cooked up something of a storm out there, and people are well aware of what we're up to. Now, I know this is not detailed enough. There's so much more that you probably want to know. Elliot Matthias, who's running it, will be here as soon as they let him come. And the hope is that he will be able to regularly report to both the staff as well as the student body, so that all of you can feel part of it, all of you can contribute to it in any way. We need a lot of brain power too. And all understand that this is the vision of the organization. When you're talking about someone very, very big, it is impossible to guess what he would have said about what you're doing. It'd be presumptuous for me to say, I'm sure Reb Noach would be proud of us. Who knows? If we knew how to think like Reb Noach, we would have been Reb Noach. He was always predictably unpredictable. There was no way of knowing what was going on in his mind. He was always 10 steps ahead of everybody. But one thing I can say, I am confident that he is proud up there that we're thinking this way and that we're doing something of this scale. May the schus of Reb Noach bring us success. May his memory energize us, especially when the going is rough. May Hashem bless the whole organization. We're doing this for Kvod Shamayim, for the sake of all the Jewish people and eventually all of humanity, understanding that it was created by a loving God who gives us a beautiful life if we only know how to use it. If we only learn to use our brains, really think and question what we're doing, listen to our own hearts and understand what it is that really makes us feel good about ourselves. Simple questions. so that we can truly be the recipients of Hashem's good. That's what He created us for. We should be zocha to the siyata d'shmaya, everything necessary to make this happen, and that one day the Jewish people will once again define itself as the people of the book, the people who study Hashem's wisdom, live intelligently, and receive from life what Hashem wanted us to and created us for. Thank you.